World Wars and India's role. The First World War. Even prior to 1914, there were frequent strifes and conflicts among Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Russia to gain control over Europe and the colonies. Industrial revolution and new inventions led to severe competition among European countries. There is a history, spanning centuries, of rivalry among European countries with regard to capturing markets and the resources of innumerable countries of the world, including India. The agreements arrived at in this process served to keep alive the boundary disputes of many countries. This shook the balance of power equations between strong European countries. Due to the above state of affairs, every strong nation indulged in extreme militarization. Many alliance pacts were formed. Extreme nationalism began to develop in some countries. Imperialist tendencies strengthened. The First World War divided the countries into two groups. Britain, France and Russia formed the Triple Entente Pact, whereas Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy entered into a Triple Alliance Pact. Within a short while, Italy joined the rival group. As the war progressed, the groups changed in structure. The First World War took place between 1914–1918. The immediate reason for the war was the assassination of the Austrian prince, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, on 28 July. This incident created a rift between Austria and Serbia. In the beginning, America was neutral. Russia was against Germany. By the time the war ended, the picture had changed. America had joined Britain and France. In November 1917, a socialist revolution took place, which prompted Russia to arrive at a ceasefire agreement with Germany and withdraw from the war. Germany, which had been severely battered by the attacks of the Triple Entente countries, accepted defeat and stopped fighting. In 1919, the alliance signed a humiliating Versailles Treaty. Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman kingdoms lost their identity. Germany lost most of its area. The map of Europe changed drastically. Many small independent nations came into being. With the intention of preventing wars in the future, the League of Nations was established. Among the defeated countries, feelings of shame and humiliation gave rise to aggressive nationalism. The compensation for the loss in war and other decisions that were heaped on Germany affected the people adversely. Unemployment, poverty and slump in development led to widespread dissatisfaction, which was exploited by German industrialists for their own profit. This atmosphere enabled the growth of a dictator like Hitler, who caused the Two World War. The weapons manufacturers and arms traders of Britain, France, Germany and America made enormous gains at this time. Rise of dictators. Hitler. The situations that resulted after World War Hitler I brought into existence dictators like Hitler in Germany and Mussolini in Italy. Hitler first became the Chancellor and, subsequently, after the death of Hindenburg, became a dictator. Hitler became the Führer. By the time Hitler assumed power, communists and socialists had grown powerful in Germany. Against this backdrop, gaining the support of industrialists, Hitler suppressed the communists and socialists. He banned labor unions and political parties. He declared that Nazi was the only political party. Hitler planted his speculative thoughts and the fear that Jews would control the world in the minds of Germans and created a fear psychosis. He declared that the German Aryan race was the best in the world. To propagate all this, Hitler adopted Nazi philosophy. The gist of Nazi philosophy is, the best race in the world is the Aryan race. Only Germans are eligible to rule the world. All other communities are eligible only to be ruled. Jews are responsible for all the problems of Germans. In addition to Jews, communists, Catholics and socialists are also responsible. These people are unfit to exist. This sort of intense nationalism was put into practice in the cruelest manner. To spread racial hatred, he appointed a special minister called Goebbels. He organized an outfit called Brown Shirts to create unrest and fear in the minds of people. In this direction, the mass murders and massacres have become most infamous in history. As per an estimate, he was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews and over a crore of other civilians. His mass massacre was called Holocaust. He enacted his rules of 1934 called the Nuremberg Laws. He imprisoned people in gas chambers without light or ventilation, without giving them food or water. He made them work like slaves in concentration camps. He indulged in mass killings by using poisonous gas and mass shootings. He designed ways of killing people irrespective of whether they were children, women, or old people. He employed his dictatorial power for mass massacres. The ambition to win the entire world and popularize the Aryan race was one of the reasons for the World War II. The chapter of Hitler's racial hatred ended with his death. Mussolini, the social movements, repercussions of World War I and the Russian Revolution led to the emergence of parallel political force with Mussolini's fascism. Intense nationalistic attitude, destruction of enemies, glorification of violence, racial supremacy, imperialist expansion, support to massacres were the main features of fascism. The Prime Minister of Italy from 1922 to 1943 was the founder of the National Fascist Party. In 1925, he dismissed the democratic government and legally assumed dictatorship. With the support of his secret police, he destroyed all his political opponents. He prohibited all labor strikes. He became a dictator. Joining hands with Hitler, he became responsible for the death of lakhs of people. He was assassinated in 1945. World War II. Even before people forgot the deaths and casualties of World War I, World War II started with the declaration of war by Nazi Germany against Poland on 1 September 1939. World War II is the most destructive and barbaric in the history of mankind. More than 30 countries were directly involved in this war. World War II lasted from 1939-1945. The Great Depression during the 1930s caused by the destructive policies of the developed nations caused very difficult situations in Europe and America. The lifestyle of people deteriorated to a pitiable extent. Industrial and agricultural production came to a standstill. Unemployment reached a dangerous proportion. Against the backdrop of the defeat of World War I, humiliating treaties and enormous economic loss, there developed intense nationalistic awareness in many countries. In Germany and other European nations, industrialists donated huge amounts to propagate nationalism. Using this resource, movements of hatred and arrogance became active. People like Hitler in Germany and Mussolini in Italy came to power. In East Asia, Japan, with an intention to expand its empire, was attacking Chinese territories. During World War II, two rival groups, namely the Axis and the Allies, were formed. There were Germany, Italy and Japan in the Axis group, whereas there were Britain, France, Russia and other countries in the Allies group. When Germany attacked Poland, Britain, which was an ally of Poland, declared war against Germany. However, in reality, Britain did not immediately rush to Poland's help. Poland was captured by Germany. At this time, since there was communism in Russia, Britain, France, America and the others hoped that Hitler would attack Russia. Aware of this, on 24 August 1939, Russia signed a no-war pact with Germany, Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. As a result, Hitler attacked the West instead of the East. Hitler entered into an agreement with Italy and occupied most parts of Western Europe including Denmark, Norway and Holland. In 1941, Hitler directed his attacks at Soviet Russia. Thus, Russia was forced to enter the war. At this juncture, Japan joined Hitler's camp. Japan attacked and occupied many areas in America and Europe which were to the west of the Pacific Ocean. Italy and Germany attempted to capture the British colonies in North Africa and the Suez Canal, but failed. In 1942, Russia defeated the German troops in the Stalingrad War. After that, in 1943, Germany faced a series of defeats. Russia played a major role in these defeats. The Allied forces invaded Italy, America defeated Japan and got back the Western Pacific Islands. With the Great March of the Russian Red Troops and the attack of the Western nations, Germany was forced to surrender, and Berlin collapsed. Hitler committed suicide in 1945. With this ended the war in Europe. In 1945, America threw the first ever nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki of Japan. As a result, lakhs of people were reduced to ashes. The effects of this are being felt by Japan even today. After Manchuria was liberated by Russia on 15 August 1945, Japan surrendered totally. With this, the Allied forces registered an emphatic victory. World War II, which witnessed the maximum deaths and injuries, caused pronounced social and political changes in the entire world. The United Nations organization replaced the League of Nations. The victorious Allied countries, namely the United States of America, Soviet Union of Russia, China, Britain and France, became the permanent members of the United Nations organization. The Soviet Union and the United States of America became the most aggressive, rival countries. This paved the way for the beginning of a Cold War. Asian and African nations were benefited due to a conducive atmosphere for acquiring freedom. Britain, France and many other nations lost many colonial establishments which were under their rule. India's independence may be considered in this background. Since America used atomic power, it led to a severe competition in acquisition of atomic weapons by powerful nations. World wars and India's role in the two world wars. England would not have won without the cooperation of India's army. This has been proved in the military records and war reports. Indian Army's courage, bravery, sacrifice are alive even today in the memory of the nations that took part in the wars. In the World War, leadership of England played a decisive role. India, under the colonial rule of England, and many princely states helped England by their military, financially, and by supplying many products. As soon as the war started, Emperor George V made an appeal to the Indians and the Indian National Congress for help. At this stage, Gandhiji returned to India from South Africa and requested the people to help the British as they were in need of it. About 1.5 million soldiers took part in this war from India. Apart from this, Indians helped by giving 1,72,815 animals consisting of 85,953 horses, 10,781 camels, 5,061 bullocks, and 65,398 mules. 7 crores of small arms and ammunition, 6 lakhs rifles and so on. Apart from this, between 1914 to 18, India supplied 4 crores 19 lakhs 20,223 garments, raw materials, manganese, mica, timber, tea, rubber were also supplied. Maharaja Krishna Raja Vodaya IV wrote a letter to Viceroy in August 1914 that he will help the British at this crucial time of war. Immediately he contributed 50 lakhs of rupees from Mysore state for this purpose. In September 1914, the Mysore Lancers Regiment were ordered to be ready to move to Egypt for war in support of Britain. Regiment B. Chamaraja Ors was sent with Mysore Lancers to the battlefield, and Colonel J. Desiraja Ors was also sent to the battlefield as Maharaja's representative. Mysore Lancers, consisting of 23 officers, 444 non-commissioned officers, and men with 528 horses, 49 mules, and 132 followers, left Bangalore on 13 October 1914 to take part in the war. Major M. H. Henderson accompanied it. In November 1915, the Mysore Lancers fought against the enemies in Suez Canal province, and in November 1917 they led in seizing Gaza of Palestine. They made the enemies to flee out of that area, as it was reported by Commander-in-Chief of Egypt to the Viceroy. They destroyed the Turkish army and captured Palestine, Syria, Damascus, and Aleppo cities. A prominent part was played by Mysore Lancers and Jodhpur Lancers in taking control of Haifa. The Jodhpur Lancers, led by Major Dalpat Singh, took the frontal position but was killed. Captain Aman Singh took command and led the charge straight into the enemy camp. the Mysore Lancers attacked his Austrian battery. Even today we find both the Jodhpur and Mysore Lancers are part of the reconstituted 61st Cavalry, the only horse-mounted regiment of the Indian Army. Some of the important commandants of Mysore Lancers were A.T. Tyagaraj, A. Lingaraja Ors, Subbaraja Ors, B.P. Kraushne Ors, Mir Turab Ali, Sardar Bahadur, B. Chamraja Ors, and Regimenter B. Chamraja Ors and Colonel J. Desiraja Ors. The Hyderabad Lancers also took part in the war. The efforts of the Mysore, Jodhpur and Hyderabad Lancers were immortalized by erecting beautiful war memorial at New Delhi as Teen Murti Bhavan, actually derives its name from the Teen Murtis I3 statues of Mysore, Jodhpur and Hyderabad Lancers at the circle, which incidentally is as Teen Murti Marg. As a symbolic gesture of friendship with Israel, India renamed Teen Murti Chowk War Memorial during the visit of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on 14 January 2018 as Teen Murti Haifa Chowk and the road as Teen Murti Haifa Marg. In spite of all the help taken by England, it did not keep up to its promises, and in 1919 it passed the Rowlatt Act, which resulted in Jallianwala Bagh massacre. India and the World War II was a watershed moment in modern world history and drastically changed the social and political map of the world, and especially of India under the colonial rule at that time. The dominant historical narratives of World War II have been predominantly Eurocentric. India underwent extraordinary and irreversible changes between 1939 to 45. The entire environment of India underwent change as thousands of natives put on the military uniform to fight in places like West Asia, Malaya, Burma, Iraq, Iran, Syria, North and East Africa, Sicily, mainland Italy, Greece, Crete, Cyprus, Ethiopia and Somaliland. India was a dividing line between Germany in the west and Japan in the east. Colonial India's involvement in the war has often been studied against the backdrop of the ongoing freedom struggle, the varying attitudes of Indian National Congress, the Muslim League and the formation of the Azad Hind Force under Subhas Chandra Bose. Indian resources and soldiers aided the Allies in winning the war. The newfound confidence and belief in their own abilities as national people stemmed not from the nationalist movements aimed against the war but from the professional experience they gained during the war. England utilized the agrarian products and industrial goods for the war. The ordnance factories upgraded their technology and expanded the volume of output of war-related industrial goods. Thus, quantitative and qualitative development of weapons somewhat raised the readiness of the Indian troops during the latter part of the World War. The techniques of small war which the Indian Army had learnt in the northwest frontier ended it while combating Italians in East Africa. Intensive training and combined arms techniques enabled the Indian Army to drive back Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps. The participation of the Indian Army in defeating the German armed forces during the World War is a high watermark in Indian military history. The Indian Army was defeated by the Imperial Japanese Army in 1942. The Burma campaign between 1942 to 45 proved to be significant for the Indian Army as they received rigorous, tactical, and innovative military training under the Indian Command, especially the General Headquarters and Southeast Asia Command. This helped for victory in the Burma campaign during late 1944 to 45. The war ended in 1945 and resulted in many political changes all over the world. Many countries which were under the hold of England became independent.